studies found that rates of mental illness in rural settings were similar to those in urban settings. Although researchers found that social problems contributed to mental illness, they failed to call for action. Okay. If you're not a psychiatric, epidemiologist, or a mental health historian, let me check this word.
Epidemiologist.
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 Epidemiologist, or mental health historian. This one here.
Historian.
Historian, not hysterian. Historian. It is doubtful that you've heard of Sterling County, Nova Scotia, and for good reason. Sterling Country, Nova Scotia doesn't exist, at least in the sense that you'll never find it named on a map, but it's a real place, and a place that played an enormous role in shaping our understanding of the social factors that contribute to mental health and illness. Why haven't you heard of it? I don't know. The answer is simple. Sterling County is a pseudonym. What is this word?
Pseudonym.
Pseudonym. It stands in for a county in Nova Scotia that hosted one of the world's longest and most important epidemiological studies. In this case, focusing on mental health. Why the pseudonym? Again, this word.
Pseudonym.
Why the pseudonym? When the study began in 1948, mental illness was deeply stigmatized, even more than today. Like the Framingham Heart Study, which focused on risk factors related to cardiovascular health and began in the same year and is based in Framingham, Massachusetts. Many people in Sterling County didn't want to be associated with mental illness, and even though it is quite easy to identify the real name of the host county, I'll leave you to figure that out for yourself. Researchers were still keeping it a secret very recently. You might ask another question. Why situate? Is it situate? Let me check.
Situate.
Well, it is. Why situate a study about mental health in a rural setting? As my last post suggested, most people during the middle of the 20th century were much more concerned with the threat cities posed. Well, I always pronounce it post to mental health. In a way, there's your answer. Psychiatrists and social scientists' interests in social psychiatry, or the social determinants of mental health, wondered about whether rural settings were better for mental health. Sterling County helped to provide some of the answers. The Sterling County study was the brainchild of two prototypical. Prototypical social psychiatrists, husband and wife team, Dorothea Cross-Lighton and 1908. 1908 and 1992. And Alexander Leighton, maybe. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name or her name correctly. 1908, 2007. The Leightons met at Johns Hopkins, where they both earned medical degrees specializing in psychiatry, but they were both intrigued by the social sciences and took advantage of opportunities to do field work in indigence. Oh, this word, indigence. Let me check.
Indigenous.
Oh, it's indigenous. Indigenous communities in Alaska, New Mexico, and Arizona. Their time in such places, along with their experiences in World War II, convinced both of them to switch their attention to studying mental health using methods from the social sciences. Following the Second World War, which catalyzed, okay, let me check if I pronounce it correctly. I said catalyzed.
Catalyzed.
Well, it's correct. Catalyzed psychiatric interest in the impact of social factors on mental health. The Leightons, oh, their name again, let me check it again.
Leightons.
Leightons, it was Leightons. The Leightons, they both make this plural because they refers to the husband and the wife, okay? Looked for opportunities to lead their epidemiologists. Again, this word drives me crazy. Epidemiological.
Epidemiological.
Epidemiological. Epidemiological. Epidemiological. Epidemiological study. They opted for Nova Scotia in part because Alexander Leighton had spent his summers there ever since he was a boy. The Leightons, or the Leightons, received one of the first grants from the newly founded National Institute of Mental Health, which, along with other funders, paid for a team of 100 researchers, including psychiatrists, social scientists, historians, and even a photographer. Why? As with other pioneering social psychiatry studies, including those in Manhattan and New Haven. Well, I think it's Haven. Let me check.
Haven.
Well, it's Haven. New Haven. The Leightons delved deeply into the history and social structure of Sterling County. One of the 3 books the study published, People of Cove and Woodlot, 1960, focused exclusively on Sterling County's historical and social context. Although Sterling County was a rural setting, it was remarkably mixed in terms of geography, authenticity, and economy. The county was primarily made up of English Canadians who tended to be Protestant, and French Canadians, Acadians. Oh, what is this word? Acadians.
Acadians.
Why they being Acadians? Whatever. Acadians who were Roman Catholic, along with indigenous people, Black Canadians, and a few other ethnic minorities. It was on the sea, and many people worked in the fishery, but others worked in the lumber. Okay, lumber. Let me check.
Lumber.
Interesting. And this one, before I continue reading.
Fishery.
Lumber industry or farming. People's economic situation also varied considerably, ranging from the comfortably well-off to those living in abject poverty. What is this word? Abject. I don't think so.
Abject.
Well, it is abject. Did Stirling County's residents have better mental health than people living in cities? The short answer, to the surprise of many, was no. Statistics revealed that the rates of mental illness in Stirling County were very similar to those found in the Midtown Manhattan study, which Leighton also ended up running in the late 1950s. Moreover, many of the risk factors in both places were similar: poverty, inequality, social isolation, and community disintegration. That's what, before I continue reading.
Disintegration.
Simply being in a crowded city, it seemed, wasn't problematic in itself. Interestingly, when the Leightons reassessed rates of mental illness in one of the most deprived communities, the Road, a decade later, they found that residents' mental health had improved, while Alexander Leighton argued that this was due to an adult education program and more mixing with wealthier people due to the consolidation of two schools. Let's see this word.
Consolidation
of two schools. It is also not notable that new employment opportunities had come to the area. Well, I would imagine that these new jobs lifted people out of poverty, gave their lives new meaning, and fermented. Wow, a new word. Let me check.
Fermented
New social relationships was probably more of a factor. But Alexander Leighton, much like most social psychiatrists of the period, and indeed just like the architects of London. What is this? It should be London, but it's London. Johnson's war on poverty was not minded to lift people out of poverty by giving them more material resources. Rather, they believed there was something inherently wrong with the poor that could be taught out of them, thus explaining the adult education programs. Such thinking was one of the greatest shortcomings of social psychiatry and Johnson's Great Society Policy Initiative. Well, let me check this word. Initiative. By the 1970s and 1980s, psychiatry shifted away from social explanations for mental illness and onto neurological and genetic ones, along with what is this word?
Psychopharmaceutical.
I can't pronounce it.
Psychopharmaceutical.
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 Psychopharmaceutical treatments. Although the Stirling County study kept trundling on. Most psychiatrists moved on from social psychiatry. These days, as we try to contend with ever-rising rates of mental illness, it is important to reassess such studies and to determine what their real lessons are. I didn't close this ad.